Hey everyone, so on this week's episode, Make It with Calvin, I'm going to take you through the ups and downs of my little storage spaces, storage setup, having an issue, how I got my data back, and what I'm going to do differently in the future. So let's dive into it. So a couple of things I want to make clear. One of them is I'm obviously not a data backup storage expert, but the good old rule of thumb applies. Always have a duplicate and ideally somewhere off site. In my case, I have according to my computer, I have about 5 terabytes worth of footage. It's a lot of footage, and trying to upload that to an offsite server would take ages and be very expensive. So in my case, on-site storage made more sense. But the thing is, it helps to have some redundancy even with that. Now, I'm not 100% sure what the failure mechanism with storage spaces was. I've done some research on it. It can be a little bit buggy in terms of a program, which is definitely a shame because it's a really cool program, but I digress. So what I think might have happened is I was trying to transfer some footage from the drive setup to the laptop through, actually to an external hard drive through my laptop. And the thing to remember is the laptop is running the 5-bay drive holder because the drive holder is effectively a dumb unit. It just sits there and reads and writes based off what the computer tells it. Well, that's great all up until it's in the middle of doing something and the power gets cut. That's what happened in my case, and I think that's what might have caused the problem. Now, I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's speculation because when I ran a search using PowerShell, I was able to find all 5 of the drives. All 5 of the drives were reading healthy. I tried to initialize a recovery. It just would not connect. Multiple tries did not work. So that told me there was probably a communication error and it just didn't know what to do. So flew down for Christmas, was able to get the video done with Danielle. Thankfully, I was able to find enough backup footage using the GoPro Cloud, which came in very handy. And I also had some footage already on the drive. And realistically speaking, nobody needs to watch 30 minutes of us doing some motion sickness inducing, non-stabilized camera video of us crawling around on rocks at Tamalpais National Monument. It was really fun, but no, nobody needs to see that. That being said, though, when I came back, I had found a couple of data recovery programs, and I decided, you know what? They are try before you buy, so you can see if you're even going to be able to access your data. And if you can't, well, sorry, good luck. Tried 2 different ones, and they just would not even detect the drives, period, because they were still part of a virtual disk setup, and the computer would not read them. Found a 3rd one that was actually dedicated specifically, it was a subset of a data recovery software company. It actually was able to not only find all the drives, but also recombine them in the software and go, hey, here's your files. And I'm like, oh, we actually stand a chance here. So I ended up buying the license for that and was thankfully able to pull all my data off. So what I ended up doing is I had ordered an 8 terabyte drive to act as a backup drive. The idea was, well, if I can rebuild the array and the computer detects it, awesome, I'll have a backup of it. If not, if I can at least pull all the data off and I can chuck it onto an external drive, perfect, I'm still ahead. So what I've done is I've got one set up specifically just for Danielle's footage, and then I have one that is set up for both Danielle's footage and my footage, but it's everything that's been shot right up until 2022, the end of it. We have not shot anything else. This is the first video I've shot in 2023, and God forbid something happens to it, well, it's not the end of the world. It's not like we drove 5 days to go somewhere, or it's a project I've been working on for 3 months. So thankfully I was able to get all that off and stick it on there. I ran some more tests using PowerShell, but I just could not get it to recombine the disks into something usable, which was definitely a shame. So I just decided, you know what, I have a backup of all the data. I just decided to delete the pool, and that's what I ended up doing. Now, currently what I'm doing is I've taken and temporarily set up a 2-bay mirror using storage spaces with 2 drives for the current data that I've got. The idea being is at least it's something, and I have the software if I need it, but I also have the cold backup of everything else. So should something happen and it's not on the cloud, I at least have a copy of the data, which is not a bad thing. Now, going forward into the future, what my plan is I'm probably going to make a dedicated Linux-based desktop style computer with the multiple drives in there set up in an array. And it's going to be one of those things that does not get run constantly. I do not need to be constantly pulling data from it. I'm not a professional video editor or anything like that. But the idea is it gives me the flexibility to drop off and pull out data as needed. But for the time being, I'm probably going to invest just in a small external SSD, maybe set it up in a mirror configuration if I really want to be paranoid, and just store and edit off of that, and then ingest to that when it's done. Now, to be fair, storage spaces did work very well for the time that I had it, and it's not, it's hard to say if it's a terrible program or not, because it could have been a problem that I had. Obviously, I'm using an external drive bay, so that obviously is going to be a little bit different than something internal to the machine, but it's something to consider. Now, the other thing I will say is because the computer is having to handle all the read, write, and coding, when I was doing stuff with the parity with striping, great for long-term storage, holy crap, that was slow on data transfer speeds. Doing the 2-bay mirror, I'm averaging about 100 to 150 Mbps. I was lucky to do about 10 to 15 with the parity and striping, and it's a pretty powerful computer. So something to keep in mind, especially when you're trying to edit or work with high resolution video. It was slow, really slow. So that's what's up with that. I'm just very thankful I was able to pull everything off and everything was recoverable. The drives are still usable. It wasn't a total loss. So happy about that. But I hope this was a cautionary tale for people about why you should back up your data. I mean, heck, data loss happens to everybody. Linus over at Linus Tech Tips years ago had, I believe, the Hunock server die, and that was stressful. You know, that had a lot of valuable stuff on there. Or you had Petabyte Project, where they had one server failing and they had to transfer it to another. That's definitely something you need to keep in mind if you're going to do storage of a lot of, you know, valuable content. Is when you're doing a backup of that, you need something with at least the same, if not more, capacity. And when you're talking terabytes worth of stuff, it gets very expensive very fast, especially if you have multi-drives for a backup. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully it wasn't too rambling, and I hope you actually learned something from it. When I eventually get around to building the Linux-based computer, I will let you know. I will probably just have my coworker help me and pay him good money to do it because, well, it's easier that way. So, hope you guys enjoyed. See you here next time I Make It with Calvin, and I promise I'll actually have some legit content coming out soon. I just wanted to get this dealt with because, well, there's a lot of good stuff in there. All right, see you guys later.